The escape pod rattled like a tin can hurled through a storm. Erin gritted her teeth as the control panel flickered wildly, warning lights flashing messages that all translated to the same thing: you're doomed. She had seconds to act. The Enforcer fleet wasn't far behind, their sleek ships carving through the atmosphere like hunting birds. They had chased her across 3 solar systems, through asteroid belts, and into the gravity well of a dying star. And now here she was, hurtling toward a primitive backwater planet with barely functional tech and a species that thought wireless charging was an innovation. The pod's AI voice crackled to life, disturbingly calm. Brace for impact. Wow, thanks for the heads up, Erin muttered as she slammed a fist against the console. The thrusters sputtered, because of course nothing could ever work when she needed it to. The clouds parted, revealing the dark surface below. A human settlement sprawled beneath her, clusters of glowing light stretching into the distance. Beyond that, vast stretches of open land. Not ideal, but better than smashing into an urban center. She twisted the pod's controls, redirecting its descent. The ground rushed up, then everything was fire and force. The impact sent a shock wave through her bones. Metal groaned, panels burst apart, and the world turned into a violent blur. She felt the jarring slam of the restraints biting in under her shoulders before the pod finally skidded to a stop, half buried in dirt and debris. Silence, smoke coiled from the wreckage. Erin pried herself out of the crumpled pilot's seat, wincing as pain flared through her side. The plasma wound along her ribs throbbed, but at least she was alive. Her fingers flew over the console, shutting down the emergency beacon before it could start blaring her location across the stars. She didn't need to make the Enforcer's job easier. They were already far too good at hunting her down. With a grunt, she shoved the emergency hatch open and stumbled out, boots crunching against the uneven terrain. Night stretched around her, quiet, cool, filled with the unfamiliar sense of Earth. She had landed on the outskirts of a human settlement, somewhere between a junkyard and what looked like an old mechanic's garage. She scanned the area, no sign of immediate pursuit. Good. Then, just as she started forward, her knees buckled. She caught herself against a metal railing, breathing heavily, her vision blurred, black spots creeping into the edges. The wound was worse than she thought. She needed help, and unless she planned to knock on some human's door with a "Hello, I'm a fugitive alien, please don't scream," her options were limited. Her gaze flicked to the garage. A dim light glowed from inside, the sound of clinking metal carrying through the air. It was a risk, a huge, stupid risk, but at this point, what was one more bad decision? Cole was losing a battle against a stubborn piece of machinery. The hover bike sat before him, its engine stripped apart, parts scattered across the floor like a crime scene. He had been working on the damn thing for 2 hours, and it still refused to cooperate. He leaned back, rubbing grease-streaked hands over his face. "You know, I should have gone into accounting. Nobody ever needs a wrench to the face in accounting." As if the universe had a sense of humor, something crashed against the garage door. Cole jerked upright, heart hammering. He grabbed the closest thing that resembled a weapon, an old wrench, and slowly approached. "If this is raccoons again, I swear." The door creaked as he pulled it open. What he saw made him take a step back. A woman, at least he thought she was a woman, stood swaying in the doorway. She had wild silver-flecked hair, deep violet eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light, and skin that shimmered faintly like starlight trapped beneath the surface. And oh yeah, she was bleeding. Silvery liquid dripped from a wound along her ribs, staining the torn fabric of her clothing. Cole blinked. "Well, that's new." The woman's eyes locked onto his. She swayed slightly before catching herself against the door frame. "Help me," she rasped. Cole stared. Okay. First question, are you going to explode?" She scowled. "What?" "You look like you might explode." She gave him a look that could have curdled steel. "No." "Well, that's a relief. Second question, are you going to eat me?" Her brow furrowed. "Why would I eat you?" "Hey, I don't know how your species works." He gestured vaguely. "For all I know, you're some kind of space vampire." Erin groaned, stumbling forward. Cole barely caught her before she hit the ground. Okay, bad jokes later." he muttered, half carrying, half dragging her toward the workbench. He set her down carefully, then grabbed his emergency medkit. I got to be honest with you, I usually only patch up dumbasses who slice their hands open on rusted metal. If you need like alien surgery, I'm not your guy. She let out a breathy chuckle. Just stop the bleeding. Got it. He dug into the medkit, pulling out gauze and antiseptic. If I die from touching your blood, I want it on record that this is the weirdest way I've ever gone out. Erin rolled her eyes, but she let him work. As Cole pressed the gauze against her wound, he couldn't help but study her up close. She didn't look dangerous, at least not in an I'm going to kill you way. More like I've been through hell and don't trust easily. He wasn't sure what made him ask, but the words came out before he could stop them. So, who exactly are you running from? Erin's expression darkened. The kind of people who don't leave loose ends. Cole let out a slow whistle. Awesome, love that for me. She sighed, wincing as he tightened the bandage. You don't have to help me. Yeah, well, he shrugged. I make bad decisions all the time. This one's just weirder than usual. For the first time, Erin actually smiled. It was brief, tired, but real. Cole leaned back, crossing his arms. So now that I've kept you from bleeding out, do I get a name, or should I just keep calling you Alien Girl? Erin. Cool, I'm Cole. Erin tilted her head. You don't seem afraid. Oh, I'm terrified, Cole said cheerfully. I'm just really good at ignoring my survival instincts. Erin laughed softly, shaking her head. Outside, the night stretched quiet and still, but somewhere in the dark, unseen forces were already moving, and Cole had no idea just how deep he was about to get. Cole hadn't planned on spending his night playing doctor to a fugitive alien, but here he was, elbow-deep in a first aid kit, trying to patch up someone whose biology probably defied most medical textbooks. Erin sat on the workbench, still as stone, watching him with those unnervingly bright violet eyes. The bandages he had wrapped around her side were already soaking through with that strange, silvery blood. You know, Cole said, dabbing a cloth against the wound, I have a very simple life. Fix engines, argue with customers, occasionally get yelled at by Mrs. Henderson for parking too close to her hydrangeas. Erin arched an eyebrow. And this, he gestured vaguely at her and the bloody mess on his workbench, is not part of my daily routine. She exhaled sharply, something between a sigh and a laugh. I didn't exactly plan on crash landing in a human's workshop either. Yeah, well, we all make bad choices. He grabbed a roll of gauze. I'm just wondering how bad mine was. Erin tensed as he pressed against her side. Her muscles twitched under his hands, unnervingly smooth and firm, almost too perfect, like she was designed rather than born. So real quick, Cole said, glancing up. Is this going to be one of those things where I help you, and then 2 days later I get vaporized by your space mafia or something? Erin's lips twitched. I told you I'm not going to vaporize you. Well, you might not, Cole muttered, but I bet the guys chasing you don't share that mindset. She went quiet, her expression darkening. Cole sighed. All right, so who are they? Erin hesitated, as if weighing how much to tell him. Then she spoke, her voice low. They're called the Intergalactic Enforcers. Officially, they police high-priority threats across the galaxy. Unofficially, they're bounty hunters with government funding. Cole whistled. Sounds like a fun group. They're relentless, efficient, and they don't let targets slip through their fingers. She met his gaze. I am the one exception. Something in her voice sent a small shiver down Cole's spine. She wasn't just another fugitive. She was something important, someone the enforcers couldn't afford to lose. All right, he said slowly. So what did you do to piss off the galactic cops? Blow up a moon? Hack into some space president's email? Erin smirked slightly, something like that. Oh, fantastic, I'm harboring a space terrorist. Great life choices, Cole. Her smirk faded. I'm not a terrorist, I stole something. Cole raised an eyebrow. Well, if it's a pen, I think they're overreacting a little. Erin gave him a look. Not a pen, a piece of data, something they shouldn't have had in the first place. Cole's curiosity flared, but before he could press for more details, she suddenly winced, gripping her side. The wound was healing too quickly. The silver blood had already begun sealing itself, the flesh underneath knitting back together at an unnatural speed. "Okay," he said, watching in fascination. "That's either really cool or really creepy." Aaron pulled her shirt back down. "Depends on your perspective." Cole shook his head, stepping back. "You know, you're taking this whole stranded on an alien planet thing really well. I'd be freaking out." Aaron smirked faintly. "I don't have the luxury of freaking out." "Yeah, well, I freak out professionally. I've got enough for both of us." For a moment there was silence. Then Aaron shifted, glancing around the workshop. "You live here?" she asked. Cole snorted. "No, I just like to sleep next to half-dismantled engines for fun." She tilted her head. "So yes." He sighed. "Yeah, technically. My place is upstairs. The shop keeps the bills paid, and the hoverbike graveyard out back gives me something to yell at when I'm bored." Aaron studied him as if trying to piece him together. "You fix things." "Yep. People too." Cole hesitated. "Not usually." Aaron nodded, then looked down at the bandage. "Well, you're not terrible at it." Cole scoffed. "Wow, I'll put that glowing review on my business cards." Aaron smiled just a little, but it was the first genuine expression he'd seen from her. Then the garage lights flickered. Aaron tensed instantly, her entire body shifting into fight mode. Cole frowned, tapping the side of the overhead fixture. "Relax, power around here is junk. Ever since that storm last week, the grid's been—" Before he could finish, a low hum rumbled from outside. It was deep, mechanical, too smooth for any human vehicle. Aaron's expression went rigid. "They're here." Cole blinked. "Wait, who?" She grabbed his shirt, yanking him down behind the workbench as a red light swept through the garage windows. "Turn off the lights," she hissed. Cole reached up and flicked the main breaker. The garage went dark. For a moment there was nothing but silence. Then footsteps, heavy, deliberate, moving just outside the garage door. Cole swallowed hard. "Oh, fantastic," he whispered. "I've had nightmares that start exactly like this." Aaron pressed a finger to her lips. A mechanical voice crackled from beyond the door. "Target detected. Life signs confirmed." Cole's blood ran cold. Aaron's grip on his arm tightened. "Stay quiet," she mouthed. Outside, the footsteps moved closer. Then a metallic scrape. Cole's stomach twisted. Someone was unlocking the door. Cole had exactly 3 thoughts running through his head as the heavy metal scrape of the door lock echoed through the garage. First, I should have closed up early and gone to bed like a responsible adult. Second, I'm about to be vaporized by space cops. Third, if I survive this, I'm definitely raising my service rates. Aaron was already moving. With a silent but urgent motion, she pulled Cole back further into the shadows of the cluttered garage, pressing him down behind a half-dismantled hover bike. Her violet eyes glowed faintly in the dark, wide with tension. "Stay low, stay quiet," she whispered. "Oh yeah, no problem," Cole murmured. "I love staying quiet while intergalactic bounty hunters raid my place. It's my favorite Tuesday night activity." Aaron gave him a sharp look but didn't have time to argue. The door creaked open. A gust of cold night air swept inside, carrying the scent of ozone and something faintly metallic. Then the intruders stepped in, 3 of them. Even in the dim light, Cole could tell they weren't normal humans. Too tall, too rigid in their movements, and their armor sleek, segmented, shimmering with a dull gunmetal sheen, was way beyond Earth's fashion sense. One of them lifted a scanning device, the blue screen flickering as it analyzed the space. "Residual energy signature detected. Target is near." Cole resisted the urge to groan. Great, so much for hopping they'd just leave. Aaron's fingers twitched, her breathing controlled but tense. She knew exactly how bad this was. Cole, meanwhile, was busy having a quiet breakdown. Why did I not become an accountant? I'd be in an office right now complaining about paper jams. But no, I had to open a mechanic shop and play Good Samaritan to a fugitive alien. The enforcers spread out. One of them moved toward the workbenches, another toward the storage racks, the third, unfortunately, headed straight for the hover bike they were hiding behind. Cole felt his pulse slam against his ribs. Erin glanced at him, her expression flickering with a silent message. "Stay still. Let me handle this." "Yeah, no, that sounded horrible." The enforcer drew closer, the hum of their suit amplifying in the silence. Their helmet turned slightly, the visor glowing a faint red. Then, slowly, they reached down toward the hover bike. Cole did what any sane person would do. He grabbed the nearest tool, a heavy wrench, and threw it as hard as he could in the opposite direction. It clattered loudly against a metal shelf, sending a cascade of spare parts crashing to the floor. The enforcers snapped their attention toward the sound, weapons shifting in their grip. Erin didn't hesitate. In a flash of movement, she launched herself upward. Before the enforcer could react, she grabbed the side of their helmet and twisted hard. The suit made a garbled static pop as its systems shorted from the sudden impact, and the enforcer crumpled like a badly assembled chair. Cole blinked. "Well, that's one way to say hello." Erin grabbed his wrist and yanked him up. "Run." Cole, being an expert in self-preservation, didn't need to be told twice. They bolted for the garage's back door just as the other two enforcers snapped their heads toward the movement. "Target escaping, pursue." "Oh, wonderful," Cole grumbled as he shoved open the door. "They're narrating this like a bad action movie." Blaster fire erupted behind them, bolts of searing blue energy slamming into the walls, leaving smoking holes where tools and equipment used to be. "Hey," Cole yelled, barely dodging a shot. "That stuff's expensive." Erin pulled him into the alleyway behind the garage, feet pounding against the pavement. "Less talking, more running." Cole, despite being an average human with no alien-enhanced physiology, found a level of speed he didn't know he had. The enforcers were fast, unnervingly fast. Their suits boosted their movement, allowing them to clear distances at an unnatural pace. They were closing in. Erin muttered something in her native language, which Cole could only assume translated to "This is going horribly wrong." Then she grabbed his arm and yanked him toward a side street. Cole barely kept his balance as they cut across an abandoned lot. The glow of city lights flickered in the distance, but they weren't close enough to disappear into a crowd. They needed cover fast. Erin scanned their surroundings, then her eyes locked onto something ahead. "Get in," she ordered. Cole followed her gaze and felt his stomach drop. A dumpster, he stared at her. "No." Erin's grip tightened. "Yes." "I refuse," Cole moved. "I am not jumping into." Erin shoved him hard. Cole barely had time to yelp before he was unceremoniously launched into a pile of what he hoped was just discarded packaging, and not someone's week-old dinner. Erin dropped in after him, pulling the lid closed just as the enforcers sprinted past the alleyway. For a long moment, there was silence. Cole sat in the filth, processing his life choices. "This," he said finally, "is my rock bottom." Erin was quiet for a second. Then, in a voice that was far too amused, she said, "At least they didn't vaporize you." Cole let out a long-suffering sigh. "If I survive this, I'm making you pay for my dry cleaning." Outside, the enforcer's footsteps faded. The scanners hummed, searching. Then, after an agonizing wait, the sound of a ship's engines thrummed in the distance. A moment later, they were gone. Cole risked a peek over the edge. The street was empty. "Well," he said, climbing out, "that was horrific." Erin followed, brushing off debris. "We should move. They'll regroup soon." Cole turned to glare at her. "Just to clarify, you do realize I had a perfectly normal, enforcer-free life before you showed up, right?" Erin gave him a look, "And yet here you are." Cole opened his mouth, then closed it. Damn it, she had a point. He groaned, rubbing his face. "All right, we need a plan, something better than hiding in garbage." Erin nodded, agreed. Cole muttered something about regretting all his choices, but deep down, a part of him already knew there was no going back. Cole was having a bad night. Scratch that. He was having a terrible night. Between almost getting vaporized, hiding in a dumpster, and now being stuck in a dimly lit back alley with a glowing alien fugitive, He was beginning to think his life had officially derailed. Erin, of course, seemed a lot less concerned. She paced in front of him, arms crossed, eyes darting toward the skyline as if she could spot the enforcers just by sheer willpower. Her silver-flecked hair shimmered in the low light, and the way she moved, silent, calculated, reminded him of a predator waiting to strike. Cole, meanwhile, was just trying not to pass out from adrenaline overdose. "All right," he said, taking a deep breath. "Let's review. The enforcers are looking for you. They have fancy weapons, terrifyingly efficient tracking tech, and oh yeah, they don't seem like the forgive and forget type." Erin nodded, correct. Cole groaned. "Awesome, great, love that. So what's the plan? Because I'd really like to avoid ending my life as an unrecognizable smudge on a sidewalk." Erin tilted her head slightly. "I have an idea." Cole narrowed his eyes. "Is it a good idea?" Erin hesitated. "It's an idea." "Oh, fantastic." Cole threw up his hands. "I feel so reassured." Erin ignored him. "The enforcers track life signatures, heat, energy emissions, biometrics, but their primary method is through pulse scans. They've already marked my unique energy signature. It means wherever I go, they can find me." Cole crossed his arms. "So you're saying they've basically got a cosmic find my phone on you?" Erin frowned. "I don't know what that means." "Figures," Cole exhaled. "All right, so how do we break their tracking system?" Erin's expression darkened. "We don't break it, we hijack it." Cole stared at her. I feel like that's worse somehow." Erin ignored his skepticism and continued. "Their tracking system is linked to a relay drone in low orbit. If we can intercept its signal, I can rewrite my energy signature, create a false trail, send them chasing ghosts." Cole rubbed his temples. "Okay, and how exactly do we do that? Please tell me you don't expect me to break into some highly secured government building." Erin gave him a flat look. Cole groaned. "Of course you do." "We don't have a choice," Erin said, voice firm. "If we don't do this, they will find me, and when they do, they won't leave witnesses." Cole grimaced. "Oh, so I'm on the hit list now? That's great news, really fantastic." Erin didn't respond. She didn't have to, he already knew the answer. He sighed heavily. "All right, fine. Let's hijack a government drone. What could possibly go wrong?" It turned out a lot could go wrong. Cole crouched behind a chain-link fence, staring at the dull gray monolith of a building in front of them. It wasn't the official headquarters of any major Earth agency, but according to Erin, it was one of many data relays tapped by off-world forces to monitor intergalactic signals. "So let me get this straight," Cole muttered. "You want me to break into a government facility, sneak past armed guards, hack into an alien-controlled system, and not die in the process?" Erin nodded. "That's the general idea." Cole shook his head. "Cool, cool, cool. Just making sure I understood exactly how insane this is before we do it." Erin reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device no bigger than a coin. It pulsed with a faint blue glow. "This is an EMP disruptor. It'll short out security cameras and sensors for approximately 30 seconds. Cole frowned. 30 seconds, that's it." Erin smirked. "You only need 10 if you move fast." Cole stared at her. "Yeah, see, that's the thing, you assume I'm fast." Erin rolled her eyes. "Just follow my lead." She activated the device, and in an instant the security cameras flickered and went dark. "Go." They moved. Erin led the way, her movements fluid and precise, slipping through the perimeter like she had done this 1,000 times before. Cole, on the other hand, was a little less graceful, nearly tripping over a stray pipe but managing to stay upright. They reached the side door. Erin placed a hand over the control panel, and with a soft pulse of light from her palm, the lock clicked open. Cole blinked. "Okay, that was cool." Erin smirked. "Try to keep up." Inside, the facility was eerily quiet. Rows of terminals blinked with soft blue light, the hum of servers filling the air. "Main terminal is this way," Erin whispered, moving toward a control station. She began working quickly, fingers flying over the alien interface like second nature. Cole hovered nervously. So, do you have like a degree in space hacking or... Cole, right, shut up and let the expert work. Erin's eyes flickered as she scrolled through data streams, searching, sorting. Then she stopped. Found it. Cole peered over her shoulder. That's a lot of glowing symbols I don't understand. Erin ignored him and began inputting new commands. The screen flickered then. Warning, unauthorized access detected. The alarms blared, Cole cursed. Why do these plans always go wrong? Erin's fingers flew faster. Almost there, just need a few more seconds. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. Cole turned just in time to see two security guards rush in, weapons raised. I really hope you're done, he shouted. Erin slammed a final command into the console. The system pinged in confirmation. Done. She spun around, grabbed Cole's arm, and yanked him toward the nearest exit just as energy bolts sizzled past them. They burst through the emergency door, sprinting across the darkened lot. Behind them, the facility flickered as the false signal went live, sending the enforcers on a wild goose chase across the other side of the planet. Cole, however, was still focused on the not dying part of the plan. This was by far the dumbest thing I've ever done, he gasped as they ran. Erin grinned, breathless but triumphant. You'll get used to it. Cole groaned. I really need better life choices. But as the distant sound of sirens faded behind them, a strange feeling settled in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the worst thing to happen to him after all. The stolen hover car shot down the deserted highway, neon lights from the city reflecting off its sleek frame. Cole gripped the controls tighter than he liked, knuckles white against the wheel. Okay, he panted, glancing at Erin. Tell me that insane hacking stunt actually worked. Erin, sitting in the passenger seat with her feet up on the dashboard like this was a casual joy ride and not a life-or-death escape, smirked. Worked like a charm. The enforcers are following a false signal about 1,000 miles from here. Cole let out a long breath. Oh good, so that gives us what? 10 minutes before they figure it out, maybe 15 if we're lucky. 15 whole minutes. Wow, I feel so safe. Erin chuckled, then winced as she shifted. The bandages around her side were holding, but barely. Even with her accelerated healing, she was pushing her limits. Cole glanced at her, concern creeping into his voice. You sure you're going to make it? You look, not great. Erin shot him a dry look. Thanks for the compliment, human. You're welcome, I try to be supportive. She shook her head, but there was a glint of something softer in her gaze. I'll be fine. Cole exhaled, turning his focus back to the road. The city lights were thinning, giving way to the vast open stretch of the desert. The night sky above was endless, glittering with stars, stars that Erin once called home. And then up ahead it came into view, a ship. Sleek, dark, and hidden in the valley beyond the road, nestled between the rocky terrain like a secret waiting to be uncovered. It wasn't hers. Hers was long gone. But it was a beacon left by old contacts, a last-resort escape plan in case she ever needed to get off-world in a hurry. Tonight she needed it. Cole slowed the hover car to a stop, dust swirling around them. He stared at the ship for a long moment, then turned to Erin. So this is it? Erin nodded, opening the door and stepping out, boots crunching against the dirt. The cool desert air brushed against them, carrying the distant hum of the ship's waiting systems. Cole followed, shoving his hands into his jacket pockets. He wasn't sure what he was expecting. Maybe some grand farewell, some dramatic last words. Instead, Erin just stood there, staring at him. After a beat, she said, You should come with me. Cole blinked. Wait, what? Erin smirked slightly. You heard me. Yeah, but I mean, what? He gestured vaguely at the ship, then at himself. I'm a mechanic, Erin. I fix engines and complain about taxes. I'm not exactly galactic fugitive material. Erin crossed her arms, watching him carefully. You helped me. You saved my life, and I don't think you want to go back to pretending you're just some small-town mechanic after all this. Cole opened his mouth, then closed it, because damn it, she wasn't wrong. How could he just go back? Back to the shop, back to fixing hover bikes and pretending the universe wasn't so much bigger than he ever imagined. Back to nights spent arguing with customers over warranty policies while knowing that out there in the stars was a life so much bigger than what he had settled for. And more importantly, wasn't this exactly what he always wanted? The adventure, the danger, the chance to do something more. Erin must have seen the conflict in his face because she smirked. "Come on, Cole. You're already terrible at making good life choices. Might as well make another bad one." Cole laughed, shaking his head. "You make a compelling argument." Then lights, bright, sharp, cutting through the night, the roar of engines in the distance. Cole spun around. "Oh, come on, how did they find us so fast?" Erin cursed under her breath. They must have figured out the signal was fake. The enforcer ships were closing in fast. Erin turned to him. "Decision time, Cole." Cole took one last look at the life he was leaving behind. The road, the city in the distance, the garage he'd probably never see again. Then he looked at Erin, and just like that, he made up his mind. "Well," he sighed, rubbing the back of his neck, "guess I'm going to space." Erin grinned. "Good choice." They sprinted for the ship.